So can you do a 800 kilometers road trip on the Livewire S2 Alpinsta? You sure can, but it will take some planning and some patience. I was invited to join my friends on a weekend road trip to Bad Laspen in Germany. It's a 300 kilometers trip one way, so no problem for a bike on gasoline, but a challenge for my electric Livewire S2 Alpinsta. The Alpinista has a realistic highway range of about 90 kilometers, and that is only when you keep your speed at about 85 kilometers per hour. If you go faster, you will drain the battery even quicker. So, for the complete trip to Bad Laspen, I would need at least 2 charging stops. Luckily, the Type 2 chargers in Germany are mostly 22 kilowatt. In the Netherlands, the slower 11 kilowatt chargers are standard, which would have made the trip even more difficult. The Alpinista only charges at one phase. On a 22 kilowatt charger, you will charge at a maximum speed of about 5.1 kilowatt. So, if you arrive at your charger at 10%, you will need about an hour and a half of charging to get back to about 90% of charge. That's a long wait for every hour of driving. Since I had some trouble charging at public chargers, I wasn't sure if charging the bike in Germany would work at all. I decided to test it out just across the border near Goch. If it wouldn't charge, I would be able to limp home by taking the local roads instead of the highway. Luckily, charging at my first test stop went just fine. No issues, and I did reach the desired charging speed of 5.1 kilowatt. After this first short charging stop, I rejoined the highway. On some parts of the Autobahn, as the highway is called in Germany, there is no speed limit. That's fun, but not suitable for my Alpinista, so that's a bit of getting used to, driving 85 km per hour while some cars pass you at 200 km per hour. And it is not only cars that pass you, even trucks drove faster than I did. It is a bit depressing getting overtaken by a large truck while you are on your bike. My second charging stop was in Moers. I had planned this specific stop because it was close to a bakery where I could have my lunch while waiting for the bike to charge. It was also a nice location that allowed me to cut out some highway time by going via city roads. Great for the range. In Germany, on the Autobahn, you will often have Baustellen. These are roadworks where you're not allowed to go above 60 or 80 km per hour. Normally, I hate these, but since my top speed was 85 km per hour anyway, and going even slower on the highway was better for my weights, I kind of liked them this time. Just as with traffic jams, these Baustellen allowed me to drive just as fast as the rest of the traffic, while saving battery. My third stop was near Köln. I had found a charger at an hotel, but when I got there the hotel was being remodeled and closed. The charger was offline too. I found another location nearby on the map, but I couldn't find it at the location it was supposed to be at. Third nearby location I tried was a charger that wouldn't work, and the fourth I stopped at only charged at 3 kilowatts. Finally, at my fifth location, I found a fast charger at a furniture store. It had a restaurant where I ate some pie and had a drink. Since my next stop would be closer to 7 o'clock, I googled for a charger at a restaurant. The one I found had 3 chargers. I phoned the restaurant to reserve for dinner. When I walked into the restaurant, wearing my full motor gear, I noticed everyone was dressed formally. Unknown to me, I was charging my bike at a restaurant with a Michelin star. A delicious surprise, although my not so formal wear did make me feel a bit out of place. By the time I was done enjoying this wonderful dinner, the Livewire was completely charged. I had enough charge to make it all the way to my hotel. I arrived at about 10 o'clock in the evening. The 300 kilometer trip took me about 10 hours. Luckily at the hotel we had a garage to park our bikes, and it had a power socket so I could charge the bike while I slept. The next morning, me and my friends did a nice local trip following a GPS route. The roads and surroundings are beautiful around Bad Laspen. I did mess up my camera, so I don't have any good footage of the day. When my bike got low on charge, we found a charger in a village nearby. However, instead of riding directly to the charger, we kept following our route, which would get us to the village eventually. I ended up limping the bike to the charger and arriving at just 2% of charge left. Of course, the charger we stopped at wouldn't work. Luckily, there was another charger that did work just 50 meters further. While the bike charged, we went for lunch in the village. After the lunch, we decided to split up. I took a shortcut and waited for my friends while I charged the Alpinista again. This way they didn't have to wait. The ride back to the hotel was just a bit further than my battery would take me. So I ended up limping the last 20 kilometers again and arriving with just 3% of charge left. The next morning I left early for the trip back home. It's really nice to drive on almost empty roads on early Sunday morning. The weather was damp and gave me some lovely misty roads. On the way back I had planned my charging stops a bit better. A trip like this really helps to get a better feel for the bike and the range you will get on different types of roads. I had 3 charging stops on the way back and not one issue with the charges. This really helped because it shaved 2 hours of my trip, just by knowing the range and what to look for with charges. I got home with just 1% of charge left, but without feeling uncomfortable about it. When I noticed I would arrive with more charge, I just upped the speed on the highway to maximize the battery usage. Overall, we had a great trip. When I started, I was a bit anxious about the trip, but I really got to know the limits of the bike and are much more comfortable with planning and riding trips like this.